Zara was never the kind of girl people noticed. She sat in the back of every classroom, wore the same hijab every day, and carried a lunchbox her mother packed with leftover bread and lentil curry. Her father worked at a small printing press, and her mother stitched clothes for the neighbors. Not because she loved sewing, but because they needed the money. They lived in 2 rented rooms, and the walls were thin enough to hear the rain falling on the tin roof at night. But Zara loved that sound. She would close her eyes and whisper,
"Ya Allah, hear me the way I hear this rain, quietly, constantly, without stopping."
Zara had one dream: she wanted to become a teacher. Not just any teacher, the kind whose words stayed with students long after they left the classroom. She had a gift for explaining things. Even her little brother would ask her to explain his science homework. And she would turn a boring chapter on photosynthesis into a story about how plants too have to work in the dark to reach the sun. When her intermediate exams finished, she applied for a government teaching college. The forms took weeks to collect. She traveled by local bus 3 times just to get them stamped correctly. She filled every section with care, praying over the envelope before she posted it. And then she waited. The results came on a Tuesday. Her name was not on the list. Her cousin, who had barely studied, got in. Zara read the results twice, then folded the paper and placed it in her drawer, and without saying a word, quietly closed the drawer. That night, her mother heard her crying in the bathroom. She knocked softly. Zara opened the door, eyes red, and said,
"Mama, I don't understand. I tried so hard."
Her mother held her face and whispered,
Allah saw every hour you studied, not 1 minute was wasted with him.
But the pain didn't leave easily. Zara stopped talking much after that. She helped around the house quietly without complaint. Mornings, she stitched alongside her mother. Evening, she gave free tuition to the children in their lane. 7 kids, different grades, squeezed onto one charpoy under a single bulb. She didn't charge them. Their families couldn't afford it. She told herself,
"If I can't teach in a school, I'll teach here."
People talked. Some aunties in the neighborhood said,
"She was wasting her youth.
One woman told her mother,
She should just get married now. What's left for her?"
Zara heard it from behind the curtain. She went to her room, sat on the prayer mat, and stayed there for a long time. Not crying, just sitting, breathing, letting the words hurt and then letting them pass. One evening, one of her students, a 9-year-old girl named Mariam, came running to her with a worksheet.
"Sarah, API. I got full marks. My teacher showed the whole class."
Zara hugged her. She didn't let go for a moment, because in that one hug inside her quietly said, "This is also teaching, this counts." A few months passed. A woman from a nearby NGO that ran a learning center for underprivileged children visited the lane. She had heard about the girl teaching kids for free. She found Zara in the middle of explaining fractions using pieces of a torn roti. The woman stood and watched. She didn't interrupt. When the lesson ended, she walked over and said,
"I've been looking for someone like you for 2 years.
Zara was offered a paid position at the learning center, with proper salary, a classroom, and resources. Then she went to her prayer mat, pressed her forehead to the floor, and stayed in sujood for so long her mother came to check on her.
"Ya Allah, you didn't give me the door I knocked on. You built me a new one."
Within a year, Zara was running 2 classrooms. She trained 3 other young women from the neighborhood as teaching assistants. Her little students won district-level competitions. A local newspaper ran a small story about the center. The headline read, "From a lane with one bulb, 100 bright minds." Zara's photo was in the paper, hijab, no makeup, and a smile that took up half her face. Her father cut it out and stuck it on the wall of the printing press where he worked. When his co-workers asked, he'd say simply,
"That's my daughter."
2 words, but his voice would crack every time. The day Zara paid her parents' first month of rent herself, she sat with them at the dinner table and said nothing. She just placed the notes on the table and looked down. Her mother looked at the money, then at Zara, and began to cry. Years later, Zara stood in front of an auditorium full of young women at a teacher's training seminar. Someone asked her,
"What's the one thing that kept you going when everything failed?"
I stopped asking Allah to change my path. I started asking him to make me worthy of wherever he was taking me.
That night she walked home the long way. It was drizzling. She tilted her face up slightly, feeling the rain on her cheeks, and whispered the same thing.
"Ya Allah, hear me the way I hear this rain."
But this time it wasn't a plea, it was a thank you. Zara's story tells us Allah doesn't always give us what we plan. Sometimes He gives us something we could have never imagined for ourselves. If your door closed, don't break down outside it, turn around. There is a road behind you that was placed there long before you were born. Walk it with Tawakkul. Walk it with Sabr. Walk it even in the rain. If you're in your waiting season right now, remember Zara. Remember the lane with one bulb, and know that your light is coming, inshallah. If Zara's story touched your heart, then don't scroll silently. Comment below. Allah's plan is always better. Subscribe for more stories. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.